Hello friends, and thanks for checking in. By now you know that the Senate bill on universal background checks, written by Toomey and Manchin, did not pass. It required 60 votes and it went down 54 to 46. But I think it's important to understand why it did not pass. By listening to the president, you would think that it's all political posturing from the right and pro-Second Amendment groups like the NRA, who would be willing to put the American people at risk to fulfill their agenda. That is simply not true. I came up with 3 reasons why it didn't pass, and I recognize that there are many more. But first off, this bill did very little to address and recognize the mental health issues in this country. The crazy people and the psychotic people are the core of the problems with these mass shootings. It's not the guns. It's not the people who follow the law. It's the maniacs or the psychotic people who either need help or locked up. One or the other. But we certainly cannot just ignore them and focus on other people, which leads to my next point. Number 2. This bill infringes on the rights of the law-abiding. Criminals aren't going to register their guns. Law-abiding people will. Law-abiding people will do whatever the law says. But for some reason, we're expecting criminals to do that. Do you really think a criminal is going to subject himself to an 800 number to the ATF because he wants to buy a shotgun? That's simply not true. So let's just get serious about that. They're not going to follow the law. Thirdly, and most important, that there is nothing in that bill that would have prevented tragedies like the one in Newtown, Connecticut, or Aurora, Colorado, or Virginia Tech, or any of the others. There is nothing that would have done that, and that's the very thing that we need done. The president says that he wants serious change, and I think that's something we can agree on. The serious change, in my opinion, which comes first, is protecting our children. So let's start there. Let's start protecting our children just as the NRA said we should, which is a great example. Put a willing, armed guard who is willing to sacrifice to keep our children safe. There are many ways to go about that. I'll let the brainiacs in Washington take care of that. But let's start there, because there is no greater asset than our children. And I think that's something we can all agree on. Keeping our children safe and then go from there. Talking about magazine capacities and this gun versus that gun and universal background checks and registration and that. Let's focus on our children and get an armed guard into school. There is no greater asset in this country. And unless we can do that, there will be no compromise as far as I'm concerned. Thanks for watching, and you guys be safe.